to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show. My name's Justin. Episode 61 today. Hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving holiday week. Week 12 is come and gone, and we're on to Week 13. On today's episode, I'll give you a few of my Week 12 reactions. Then I'll get into my waiver wire targets and my starts of the week for Week 13. Now, as a reminder, I'm releasing these weekly shows on Thursday mornings, getting you prepared with my weekly recaps, waiver wire ads, and my starts of the week. Your time is valuable, so let's get to it.
On today's show.
All right, so for today's show, I'm going to start by giving you a couple quick reactions to Week 12. First, down goes Christian McCaffrey. CMC appeared to roll his ankle in the first half of Week 12, sat out the second half. At first, it didn't seem all that serious, but CMC was then spotted wearing a walking boot after the game. Never a good sign. But reports came out that the injury wasn't considered serious. Right, with their Week 13 bye on the horizon, the thought would be that maybe Christian McCaffrey wouldn't miss any time at all. But then mere hours later, Christian McCaffrey was placed on IR for the second time this season, ending his 2021 campaign. Terrible blow, right? But let's look ahead here. What does this mean? Honestly, I hate to admit it, but CMC has earned the injury-prone label that most have given him these last two seasons. Another injury-riddled season. The guy just can't stay on the field. As we look ahead to next year, 2022, Christian McCaffrey's probably not going to be the first overall pick in most drafts like he has been the last two seasons. That's probably going to be Jonathan Taylor, maybe Derrick Henry. I'd imagine there's also probably some fantasy managers out there who have all but written off CMC. They have him on their do not draft list at this point. I still think McCaffrey's incredibly talented when he's on the field. I think he's still going to be a first-round pick next year. Those that might be able to get him around pick 5 or later are going to be pretty darn happy if he can stay healthy. Rest up, Christian. Come back stronger. We miss your dominance. Next, Joe Mixon is elite, guys. Let's turn our attention to a more positive story, and that's Joe Mixon's 2021 season. I've been beating the drum his entire professional career that Mixon would eventually become an elite fantasy option, and it's finally here. It really is. Mixon is the key cog of the Cincinnati Bengals offense, and he continues to get better week in and week out, and he's really one of the only true workhorse backs in the NFL right now. He gashed the Steelers' run defense in Week 12, double-digit touchdowns already. Currently sits at number 2 in running back scoring for fantasy. And for those that stayed patient and trusted the talent, you're definitely reaping the rewards this season. Mixon should be ranked no lower than top 5 at his position rest of season and could be in the discussion for a top 5 pick next year in draft circles. And then finally, let's talk some end of season strategies here. Right, we're nearing the end of the fantasy football regular season. We're heading towards the playoffs, full steam ahead. And for most, playoffs begin in either week 15 or 16. And my advice for those teams who are already in or on the bubble is to remain vigilant here. It's time to look at your roster, figure out if any of your running back handcuffs are available, right? If you own a guy like Saquon Barkley, maybe it's time to go pick up Devontae Booker again. If you own a guy like Josh Jacobs, it might be time to see if Kenyon Drake is available. In addition, if your league still plays with defenses, are there any good defensive matchups you could take advantage of over the next few weeks? Teams like the Dolphins and even the 49ers have some really tempting matchups as we head into the fantasy playoffs. Don't just look at Week 13. Look ahead to your playoff matchups and get yourself prepared. All right, let's get into my waiver wire ads for Week 13. Before I get there, my ads for last week included Ty Johnson, Cedric Wilson, and Laviska Shenault. This week, the waiver wire looks pretty solid, especially with all the injuries we saw last week. Now, one player you're not going to hear on this list today is going to be Carolina Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard. I just don't love this schedule down the stretch here for Chuba Hubbard. The emergence of Amir Abdullah in this backfield as well. I think it's going to be a bit of a frustrating RBBC, so I'm leaving Chuba Hubbard off my list. Not saying that he's not worth adding by any means, but he's just not making my top 3 for this week. My first player on my waiver wire ad list for Week 13 is going to be a running back, and it's going to be Minnesota Vikings running back Alexander Mattison. Madison is my clear-cut number 1 ad this week, far and above everybody else. Now, he's mostly rostered, right? Most leagues he is rostered, but if he isn't, drop whatever fab you have left, whatever waiver priority you have, put a claim in on Alexander Mattison. Dalvin Cook is out for the next 2 weeks minimum, potentially longer. And Madison has performed very well in the games that Cook has missed earlier this season. He's a top 5 option in Week 13 and should be added in all leagues. My next waiver wire ad for Week 13 is going to be another running back, and it's going to be Detroit Lions running back Jamal Williams. My clear number 2 option this week is going to be Jamal Williams right behind Madison. Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Lions, seemed to indicate that it would be a long shot to see DeAndre Swift this week, and it's possible, very possible, that we may not see DeAndre Swift the rest of the season, especially with the Detroit Lions record and how the season's unfolding for them. Jamal Williams becomes the bell cow in this Detroit Lions offense this week and should be a top 12 option at the position. If you miss out on Madison, my number one option, Jamal Williams is your guy. And finally, my last ad for this week, week 13, is going to be a quarterback, and it's going to be New Orleans Saints quarterback Taysom Hill. It was announced Wednesday that Hill is going to be the starting quarterback for the Saints on Thursday Night Football, and it's about time, right? 4 straight losses with Trevor Siemian for the Saints under the helm. Has Sean Payton going with his favorite lost son, Taysom Hill, this week. And we saw Taysom Hill succeed as a starting quarterback last season, and it's the rushing floor that is most appealing to me from a fantasy perspective. I wouldn't necessarily start him this week with much confidence, given it's his first week back from a long-term injury, but he's a luxury ad with the upside to become a low-end quarterback one by fantasy playoff time. All right, let me get into my last segment for today's show. It's going to be my starts of the week. Last week, I had quarterback Matt Stafford, running back David Montgomery, and tight end Kyle Pitts. I'm going to get back on board here this week, guys, with my starts. I'm going to go with quarterback Tom Brady as my start of the week for the quarterback position. Brady was held in check in Week 12 as it was the Leonard Fournette show against the Colts. The team's rushing attack really took center stage this week. Week 13 brings a much more favorable matchup against the Atlanta Falcons for this pass offense. I'm starting Tom Brady as my number one overall quarterback in Week 13. My next start of the week is going to be a running back, and it's going to be Minnesota Vikings running back Alexander Mattison. Mattison was my number one waiver wire pickup for this week, and he's also my start of the week at the running back position. Madison has proved he can operate as a bell cow when Dalvin Cook misses time, and he gets a cream puff matchup against the Lions this week. Madison is inside my top 5 at the running back position and could be the number one overall scoring running back this week, starting with confidence. And then finally, my last start of the week is going to be a wide receiver, and it's going to be Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen. The early season discussion that Mike Williams had overtaken Allen as the Chargers' number one wide receiver can definitely be put to rest at this point. Allen is back to his old PPR God ways, and he should feast against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Keenan Allen should see his typical 10-plus target workload in a game that should be a lot of fun to watch. With 2 of the bright young stars at the quarterback position, I'm starting Keenan Allen as a top 5 option this week in Week 13. So that'll do it. Please remember to comment and like on this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. This has been the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Good luck this week, everybody. See you next week.
Royalty-free music courtesy of Ben Sound. The views and opinions expressed on today's episode are that of the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Remember to like and subscribe.